Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We're gaveling in, trying again, second time. Gaveling in for our 2 o'clock joint hearing between the Committee on Higher Education and Technology. I am Vice Chair Capella, and to my left is Chair Peruso. We are joined by the Committee on Education as well. We have Chair Woodson, and yes, we have Chair Woodson. We have a handful of people who are planning to testify in person. But first, I'm going to turn it over to Chair to read the ground rules.
So just as a reminder, we have folks joining us on Zoom. If you are joining us on Zoom, please stay muted until you're asked to testify, and also please remove any logos or images from the background. And folks who are testifying, we're asking you to limit your testimony to 2 minutes, but it's just a gentle limit. You can go over. And I think that it's important to understand as well that try to be as civil as possible. This is a democratic space, so let's show some respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And then I'm not sure I said it, so I'm gonna say it because I didn't say it before. This is our February 2nd, 2 o'clock PM agenda. We're in conference room 309. We have one bill on this agenda, and it's House Bill 1534, relating to establishing the Hawaii Teacher Apprenticeship Program. First up on the agenda is University of Hawaii in support.
Good afternoon, Chair Peruso, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Capella, and La Chica, and members of committee. Nathan Murata, Dean, College of Education, UH Manoa. We stand in support of this bill, but offer specific comments relative to the eligibility and requirements for the teacher apprenticeship program. And I'll be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dean. Up next, we have Department of Education in support.
Aloha, Chair Peruso, Vice Chair Capella, Chair Woodson. My name is Kerry Tom, testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony in support of this measure. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have Hawaii Teacher Standards Board in support, in person.
Good afternoon, Chair Peruso, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Capella, and Vice Chair La Chica is not here. Okay. And members of the committee, my name is Felicia Villalobos, and I'm the Executive Director of the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board, speaking on behalf of the board. We submitted written testimony in support of House Bill 1534 with comments. We do have to make one amendment and change the Workforce Development Council to the Workforce Development Division. I also like to take a moment to provide some additional information to our testimony. The federal government has apprenticeship programs for over 85 years now. And thanks to my good friend David Donaldson from Tennessee, who would not take no for an answer by 2 sitting U.S. presidents, finally got the teaching profession added to the federal list of approved apprenticeship professions in 2021. With this, he stated, "We are going to create a world where an aspiring educator can become a teacher for free and get paid to do so." This earn while you learn model has taken the country by storm. Since 2021, 26 states plus Puerto Rico have started their own registered teacher apprenticeship program. Individuals who would like to become teachers can earn a salary while gaining 2 to 3 years of on-the-job experience as a teacher candidate under the training and guidance of a cooperating master teacher. This model will not only improve retention rates in the teaching profession, but will also create opportunities for teacher advancement and leadership, including earnings and additional certifications in high-demand areas for seasoned teachers serving as their mentors. As the only state school district in the U.S., Hawaii has the unique opportunity to develop a teacher pipeline from as early as middle school all the way through high school, community college, a 4-year institution to receive a bachelor's degree and a full teaching license. By no means will this be an easy task. The board would like to thank DLIR, HSTA, the superintendent, UH Manoa, Dean Murata, Janet Kim, P20, the TECC Committee, directors of the Charter School Commission, EOEL, and many other partners here and online who have already committed to support and collaborate with the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board for this heavy lift. This is not a solution that will solve Hawaii's teacher shortage overnight, but like anything good worth having, it's going to take all of us here and a lot of work to get this pathway developed and give the students the teachers they deserve, which is a highly trained, licensed teacher that is not only 100% invested in their community and in the profession, but 100% invested in their students and providing each student that sits in their classroom with a quality educator. As a former cooperating teacher, former grade level chair, former HTSB board member, former HSTA member, and most importantly, a public school teacher who taught elementary on the island of Kauai for 15 years while working 2 jobs to pay for my master's degree and make ends meet. My hope is to see our profession of teaching here in Hawaii be the profession that people want to be a part of and stay in without fear of any financial burdens and can start their job day one ready with no debt. Thank you for your time and available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have the Office of Hawaiian Affairs in support.
Aloha Winala, Chair Woodson, Chair Peruso, and Vice Chair Capella, and members of the committee. My name is Kaylee E. Nixon. I am a public policy advocate with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and we will stand on our written testimony. I'll be available if there's any questions.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have DLIR in support, in person. Oh, thank you for being here.
Chairs Peruso, Chair Woodson, and Vice Chair Capella. I'm Mayor Carpilliton Freitas with the Workforce Development Division. The department stands in support of this measure and offer comments, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have HSTA in support, in person.
Hello, chairs. Hello, vice chairs. Osatui, HSTA president, in strong support of this. As you know, we keep harping on recruitment and retention, and this is something definitely with regards to recruitment. And oftentimes, this would allow us to recruit those who have no other way to become a teacher. Oftentimes, for example, our educational assistants. They're there in our classrooms every single day, and they want to proceed up, but they don't have a way. They'd have to stop their work. Their families can't afford that, things like that. This would give them that opportunity to be paid and work their way towards becoming a teacher. Oftentimes, yes, just the student teaching experience alone is a barrier for many people to become teachers. People who would actually be able to connect directly with a lot of the students that we have to serve throughout the state. I was at a convening last week, was it last week only? With the Standards Board, with UH Manoa, with the DOE, and we got to see what a lot of the other states are doing. And they're just going gangbusters. Now that registered apprenticeships for teachers have become authorized by the US Department of Labor, some of these states are going gangbusters with it. And I just look at it and I'm like, we can be there. We can be, we can be also a shining star up there. They're going to convene next January. I want to be able to be there and say, look, Hawaii is doing great things too. We'll need your support on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. That's all I have on my testifier list in person, but I will note that we have Hawaii P20 Partnerships for Education also in support, and then 3 other individuals in support as well. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Please. Ms. Hunt.
Aloha, thank you for having me. Tiffany Edwards Hunt, I'm representing HSTA and KL Middle School today. And I just want to let you folks know that we struggle with teachers at our schools. We also struggle with teacher retention. If you have a teacher coming from the continent, many times they have no idea what they've gotten into. And we have some teachers here who can tell you about teachers showing up onto a campus and deciding 15 minutes after meeting the children that the job is not for them. So an apprenticeship would be incredibly valuable. You just think about how much education that people put into pursuing a profession only to find out that that is not the profession for them. And our children are way too valuable, and that profession is way too crucial for us not to have an apprenticeship program. So please, if you can do this, if you can do anything and everything to help encourage Hawaii's own people to become teachers and to help to educate our youth. Thank you so much, and aloha.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Anyone else would like to testify? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions?
I have a quick question for HSB.
Chair.
Yes. Yes, Chair.
So, thank you for being here, and also thank you for all of your work on this. It's been a couple of years, I think. And I just had a clarifying question. So if you could explain to the public the reasons for the amendments that you've requested in the bill in plain language.
Yeah, thank you. Felicia Villalobos, Hawaii Teacher Standards Board Executive Director. Some of the amendments were tried to work with the Department of Labor on requirements. I know that was one of the major things we were taking out. We want to make sure we're in federal compliance with the Department of Labor and those rules. So working together with the Department of Labor, we have some upcoming meetings to discuss the type of requirements, and then again, bringing in the stakeholders like Manoa or the other institutions that will be helping with the Register Apprenticeship Program.
Okay, and just one additional question. You mentioned in your oral testimony that you wanted to change the term Workforce Development Council to another term, and I didn't catch the other term.
Yeah, thank you. I was corrected. It's Workforce Development Division. I believe we submitted with the word council, so it is division.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Any other questions? Yes, Chair Woodson.
For the Standards Board. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for your testimony. And I know that you're recommending that to change Section 2, but I want to ask you a question about the original language. Per one of the provisions in the original proposal, it speaks of a apprentice working with a master teacher or a mentor teacher for 2 years in a team teaching strategy. I'm wondering how that differs from the current mentorship novice teacher or apprentice situation or orientation, and if it's necessary for 2 years or if 1 year is enough.
Yeah, so the difference between, and we're looking at that language, the difference between a mentor teacher and a cooperating teacher. A cooperating teacher is helping a candidate go through a program, whereas a mentor teacher will help someone after they graduated from a program already teaching. So they already went through an educator preparation program. And so because of the apprenticeship program and the way it's set up, the journeyman, which is the master teacher, is with them in the classroom the entire time. So it's not an emergency hire situation where they're a teacher of record by themselves. They're with that journeyman or that master teacher. And it could take up to 2 to 3 years depending on where they are in their education, because licensure requirements requires a bachelor's degree. So they need to achieve that and a state-approved teacher education program in whatever area they're going to be licensed in. So it could be 2, it could be 3 years. And if we do apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship, it could start in high school.
I guess more broadly speaking, like what is the best practice for the mentorship novice teacher relationship? Should they be mentored for 1 year, 2 years? What is the national standard for that?
Well, again, it's probably going to be 2 years because they have to be with that journeyman for that long. And so for that teacher candidate to be in the classroom, again, like any other profession, like electrician work, and they have to be a certain amount of hours as well. And so I would recommend, right now, a traditional pathway is a semester. You're with a master teacher, and you get 2 weeks pretty much by yourself. This will be 2 to 3 years, and that's why they're looking at the retention rate being so long, because you're under a master teacher for that long. So I hope I answered your question.
So the standard is at least 2 years?
At least 2 years,
average.
nationwide, that we see an average, yeah,
Okay.
for them to complete a program for wherever they're at in their education.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, do you want to recess for decision? We're going to recess for decision making. Recess.
reconvening for decision-making. Thank you so much for that testimony. And we are going to pass HB 1534, which will establish the teacher apprenticeship program to be administered by the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board. But I wanted to, it will be creating a House draft, so HD, accepting the amending language submitted by HTSB for Section 2, also making technical, non-substantive amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. We're going to change that term, Workforce Development Council, to Workforce Development Division, defect the effective date, and while the amounts are blanked out in the body of the bill, we want to add language in the committee report providing funding for 2 FTE positions and a mentor stipend in the following amounts. So the mentors year 1, 25 mentors times 3,000, that's a total of $75,000 per annum. And 2 FTE, 1 business manager officer 1 at $105,900, and 1 institutional analyst EO 2 at $114,000. Members, are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 1534, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative LaChica.
Aye.
Representative Martin. Aye. Representative Martinez. Excused. Representative Matayoshi.
Aye.
Representative Mizuno.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan. Excused. Representative Todd. Excused. Representative Woodson.
Aye.
Representative Garcia.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Members on education, same recommendation. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, voting on House Bill 1534 for the Education Committee, Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Representative Capella.
Aye.
Representative Martin.
Aye.
Representative Martinez. Excused. Representative Matayoshi.
Aye.
Representative Mizuno.
Aye.
Representative Peruso. Chair Peruso.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan. Excused. Representative Todd. Excused. Representative Garcia.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members.
We are adjourned.
We're gaveling in for our 205 agenda for the Committee on Higher Education and Technology, as well as the Committee on Health and Homelessness. Vice Chair Capella, Chair Peruso, and we are joined by Chair Della Albalati and Vice Chair Jenna Takenauchi. We have one measure on this agenda, and that's HB 2504, relating to cigarette taxes. Up first, we have Department of Taxation with comments in person.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. Gary Sigunuma, Director, Department of Taxation. The department stands on its written testimony offering comments, but I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have University of Hawaii in support in person.
Dear chairs and vice chairs and committee members, I'm Naoto Ueno, the University of Hawaii Cancer Center Director. So we stand on support of this bill. So if you have any question, please ask.
Thank you very much for your testimony, and thank you for being here. Up next, we have Department of Health in support in person.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Capella, Chair Peruso, Chair Bellotti, and Vice Chair Jenna Takenauchi, and members of the two committees. I'm Lola Irvin, representing Director Kenny Fink with the Department of Health, and I'm quite short for this mic, so. The Department of Health supports and appreciates this measure that was in the governor's package being heard today, and we support this measure as both a health equity and social justice issue. What we know is that raising the taxes impacts youth initiation and continued use by youth and young adults of cigarettes. And we've actually seen it work. So the last time the tax was increased, it was through Act 192, through the session 2010. And what we saw was an associated decrease in the youth smoking rates. And so we know it works. Sadly, though, what we are seeing, though, is that with the effective marketing of these products, Native Hawaiians, Filipinos, Pacific Islanders, they continue to see higher chronic disease rates, and without decreasing the smoking rates, in Hawaii we have about 1,400 people who die from smoking-related illness, and it impacts us all because for every household with government-associated costs of smoking, it costs each household about $983. And you know we're having a hard time filling our vacancies, and it costs about $1.1 billion in lost productivity for Hawaii alone. And so this bill would increase the tax for cigarettes to 18 cents per cigarette stick. And so that would have an incredible impact on our youth smoking rates. And so we thank you so much for hearing this bill. And I'll be available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have the Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments on Zoom.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. This is Jade McMillan on behalf of Tamio Machika for the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We'll stand on our comments submitted for the measure. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have the Retail Merchants of Hawaii, also on Zoom in opposition. Not present. Okay, we have Hawaii Public Health Institute in support in person.
Good afternoon, Peggy Mirza with the Hawaii Public Health Institute. Thank you so much for considering this measure. We stand in strong support. And many of our comments reflect what the DOH also said. I will add that in 2023, December, we did a ward poll, and 73% of Hawaii voters support a $1 increase per pack. So, you know, as Department of Health said, this is a great way to stop youth from starting and also encourage adults to quit. And it will also help fund the cancer research. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism in support in person. Okay, that's it for what I have on my testifiers list. Is there anyone else who would like to testify either in person or on Zoom? Okay, we have a number of individuals in support and 2 in opposition, but That's all for testifiers. Members, are there any questions?
I have a quick question.
Chair.
My question is for Mr. Suganuma, Department of Taxation. So I read your testimony, and it's characterized as comments, and you also, up at the podium, also characterized it as comments, and I would really characterize it as support, because I found no objections in your testimony.
Yeah. The only
Can
comment
you
we have is that we're
clarify?
able to implement it as currently drafted. So that would be our position. I mean, that's what we're
So
offering you.
that's the sole basis for characterizing it as comments?
Yes.
Okay. Is implementation?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm here. I want to
Yeah.
let you folks know if the bill passes, is there going to be a problem with us implementing the change required in the bill, increase of the tax rate, the allocation? And I checked, and we can do it by the effective date in the bill.
So then there's no objection?
No objection.
No problems with implementation?
That's what we're saying. We can do
Okay,
it.
so are you okay then with me changing the characterization of your testimony to support?
I would like, our testimony is a testimony,
Okay,
and that's it.
okay,
Thank you.
fair. Okay.
Director, what is the projected revenue generation for this?
Yeah, in terms of the general fund, there's going to be a no material revenue impact. And in terms of the special fund, so the money is going to go to this cancer research, the Hawaii Cancer Research Special Fund, 4.8 million increase in fiscal '25, 5.4 million in fiscal '26, 5.6 million in fiscal '27, 5.8 million in fiscal '28, 6 million in fiscal '29, and 6.1 million in fiscal 2030.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Seeing none, we're going to gavel out for decision making.
Reconvening for decision-making on HB 2504 related to cigarette taxation. So we are going to recommend passage of this measure out of committee, just defecting the effective date, although I do want to note in the committee report that I would like to increase the taxation rate, but am exercising some restraint. So based on testimony. So members, are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members voting on HB 2504, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative LaChica. Aye. Representative Martin. Aye. Representative Martinez. Aye. Representative Matayoshi.
Aye.
Representative Mizuno.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan is excused. Representative Todd. Excused. Representative Woodson.
Aye.
Representative Garcia.
Aye.
Chair, your measure is adopted.
Thank you.
Health Committee members, same recommendation with HT1. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Health Committee voting on HB 2504. Chair's recommendations passed with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Amato?
Aye.
Representative Iligan is excused. Representative Kobayashi?
Aye.
Representative Martin?
Aye.
Representative Nishimoto is excused. Representative Garcia?
Aye.
Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
We're gaveling back in for the remainder of our 205 agenda. Up next, we have House Bill 2359 relating to the Hawaii Broadband and Digital Equity Office. Up first, we have the Executive Office on Aging in support. Not present. Next, we have Department of Business and Economic Development and Tourism in support in person.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Chung Chang. I'm the Strategic Broadband Coordinator for DBED, here testifying on behalf of Director Tokioka. We stand in strong support. I do want to also thank all of the supportive testifiers for this measure, so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have DCCA in support in person.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Randy Leong, Cable Television Administrator with DCCA. We stand on our written testimony, and if you have any questions, we'll be here to answer it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have Broadband Hui in support in person.
Aloha, Chair Peruso and Vice Chair Capella and the committee members. My name is Dan Smith. I am a member of the Hawaii Broadband Hui, a group of several hundred, 300 plus members of the community, business, and so forth. And we stand in strong support for this measure. And our reason for that is that there will be substantial federal money coming in under the BEAD Digital Equity Program, and this bill will enable the rules and procedures for dispersing this grant to be set up in advance of the money actually dropping. The order of magnitude of that money is estimated somewhere between $12 and $15 million, and therefore it's better to have the rules in place before you have to deal with all the details of the organizations out in the community that will actually be doing the digital equity training. We have some brief written testimony and available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have Charter Communications submitting comments on Zoom.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Rebecca Lieberman here on behalf of Charter Communications. We stand on our written testimony providing comments and are available for questions. Mahalo.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have Chamber of Commerce Kapolei in support on Zoom. Not present. That's all I have on my testifiers list. Is there anyone else wishing to testify either in Zoom, in person, or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, I will note that there are a number of individuals and organizations that submitted testimony in support. Members, are there any questions?
I have a quick question.
Chair.
For Mr. Smith? Sorry to bring you back up, but
Yes, ma'am.
just so clarifying that this was a bill that actually advanced last session as well, correct?
House Bill 1408, yes,
Okay.
with Representative Taganuchi's bill.
Yes. So, and this basically provides, as you mentioned, enabling language, creates a structure, right? And it includes no appropriations, because the expectation, as you mentioned, is that federal funds will be flowing down to provide these grants in the community. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so I'm wondering what kind of work the Broadband Hui has been doing to lay the foundation for identifying organizations and community members that might be able to facilitate the distribution of these funds through the grant applications. Are you doing that work now, or are you waiting for this structure?
We have members, Hui members, who are actually doing some of this work in the community on their own, and they are working together with UH and with DBET to identify organizations that can do the training, do additional training. I mean, it's several orders of magnitude more of effort that will be needed to essentially get everybody online, not just a fiber to their house, but they know what to do with it and use it effectively when it gets there. So the formal work listing organizations is being done by both UH and by DBET.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our next measure, HB 2498, relating to the University of Hawaii resident tuition fee. Up first, we have University of Hawaii in support via Zoom.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I'm Farah Marie Gomes, Associate Vice President for Student Affairs with the University of Hawaii. Our official testimony was submitted by Deborah Halbert, our Vice President for Academic Strategy. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of HB 2498, which would provide the opportunity for Hawaii high school graduates to be eligible for resident rate tuition upon admission within 4 years after graduation from a Hawaii high school. We feel that this bill will increase access to higher education, and as a process measure does streamline the application process, especially for residents and most especially for our recent high school graduates. In addition to being accessible, it does extend the period of time to 4 years after graduation from high school, which we feel is an adequate number of years for students to do some experimentation. We often know that students will leave for the continent and not come home, or when they come home, experience a delay in being able to pursue higher education with UH because of residency criteria. So this bill absolutely helps to streamline some of those barriers. I'd also like to point out that Hawaii's college going rate has declined since the pandemic, from 55% of high school students immediately pursuing higher education to just 51% now. And this also disproportionately affects low-income Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander graduates. So as we strive to equitably serve our residents of Hawaii, we see this bill as being important in assisting with that. And finally, with those residents who may leave the state and come home within a 4-year period, this bill would allow for immediate upskilling or even a change in education or career path if that is a realization that is experienced after their move away. This will significantly assist with the brain drain issue that we speak about a lot in Hawaii. So we appreciate this measure. We are in full support, and we are here to answer any questions. If there are any from the committee, thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have, well, that's all I had on my testifiers list to testify, but we do have supportive testimony from Hawaii P20 Partnerships. Members, are there any questions? Chair.
I have a quick question for University of Hawaii. So I know you folks have been working on this measure for a number of years, and it strikes me that this is, as you mentioned in your testimony, a really important means of bringing some of our young people home who may have gone to the continent to pursue other dreams or maybe even educational pathways, but want to return home, and to provide them access to that educational opportunity. I'm curious as to why we have not been, from your perspective, why have we had difficulties getting this measure passed? What is your analysis of the situation?
I think there are two main concerns with regard to that, and I appreciate the question because that's something that we discuss a lot also. I think there's a philosophical concern with regard to when residents move away and pursue higher education elsewhere, they may be eligible to receive resident rate tuition at another state. And so there is embedded in our Hawaii administrative rule, there are criteria with regard to domicile, and we don't, even for purposes of voting, right, we don't allow domicile in more than one state. And so we have to be careful in terms of those criteria that would make students eligible for resident tuition in more than one state at one time. And then I think the other factor that we also need to be very cognizant of as the university is the revenue impact that this has, because the longer period of time that we extend resident tuition for, there could be, well, there will be, we have run the numbers, there would be more negative impact in terms of the amount of revenue that is collected, because we would be granting resident tuition for a longer period of time, which ultimately is the reason why this bill for 4 years is coming in this year, because we have seen other numbers on both ends of this. So we are trying to balance the revenue, since at the end of the day, we still need to provide for and cover the costs of instruction and support for our students, regardless of their residency status.
Thank you. I have a quick follow-up question. So, we're hearing another bill next week, Wednesday, that seeks to address the question of diversity at throughout the UH system, but primarily at the four-year universities. And I'm wondering if this is an indirect way to improve the diversity of our campuses. Like, do you have any numbers on that? Like, if we're able to do this, will we be able to change up the mix of students so that we would have more diverse campuses? I don't know if that question is clear enough, but I hope you know what I'm getting at.
I think I understand what you're asking. Let me attempt to answer that, and if that is not it, you can rephrase. But for your question, with regard to four-year campuses, right now, the University of Manoa currently, and this is just last fall's number, so currently admitted 58% of their students at resident tuition and 42% non-resident. The University of Hawaii at Hilo, 69% resident, 31% non-resident. And the University of Hawaii at West Oahu, 91% resident and 9% non-resident. I think it's pretty fair to say that Manoa and Hilo being the two residential campuses, maybe it's probably the reason why their non-resident rates are higher than West Oahu, which doesn't have student residence halls. But as far as we can tell, looking at the numbers for the four-year campuses, those campuses are diverse when you look it strictly in terms of percentage of non-resident versus resident distribution. And I think the question is more about what the expected balance might be in terms of what's the magic number? Is there a magic number?
Okay, I think we'll come to that next week. I think that might be a conversation for next week, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair. Members, any further questions? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our next measure, HB 2500, relating to the University of Hawaii Conference Center Revolving Fund. We only have one testifier, University of Hawaii in support, in person.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Michael Ng for Calvert Young. University of Hawaii stands on its testimony in support of this measure, which would create one conference center revolving fund for use among all the campuses. And we'll be here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, that's all I have on the testifier list. Is there anyone else that would wish to testify? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the next measure, HB 2501, relating to the University of Hawaii reporting requirements. We only have one testifier on the list, University of Hawaii in support, in person.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Jan Govea here on behalf of the University of Hawaii. We do stand on our testimony in support of this measure, but in short, this measure seeks to not require the university to comply with a reporting requirement that appears to be of a legacy, outdated kind of requirement, where I've asked around, have not been able to find out why we are submitting this information. I don't know who's using it for anything. And so that is why we are requesting, like the DOE did back in 2022, to have this requirement removed from the statute. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our next measure, HB 2502, relating to the University of Hawaii technology transfer. Up first, University of Hawaii in support, in person.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand in support of our testimony. Thank you. I'm Vasilis Irmos. I'm the Vice President for Research.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And then we have Hawaii State Ethics Commission with comments on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. It's good to see many of you. We will stand on our written testimony offering comments and are available if there are any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony. That's all I have on the testifiers list. Members, are there any questions?
I have a quick question for you, H. So if you had a chance to see the Ethics Commission's testimony, I was wondering if you could respond to that. They noted that they had not seen any technology transfers that have happened to date, and maybe you could speak to that.
Actually, that's probably correct. Usually, the bill allows the university to take the management of any potential conflict of interest within the university structure. We have put Regents policies, executive policies, to manage those. And we have had many cases where we had to put conflict of interest plans. And usually, if we are to contact the Hawaii State Ethics Commission, these probably are some of the most complex and complicated cases which we didn't have the last 6 to 7 years. Most of our cases we've seen is around small business innovation research grants, small business technology transfer grants. So we didn't have any extreme complicated cases.
So if we allow this sunset provision to, well, if we remove it, then I am curious as to who is going to provide oversight. So the Ethics Commission still provides oversight.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I want to make sure that this is not an exemption out of Chapter 84 and the State Ethics Code. This is only for tech transfer activities. The university has the ability to manage conflict of interest that come out of these tech transfer activities within the university with the help of the State Ethics Commission when those become complicated.
I'm particularly interested in, sorry, Chair, may I ask one more question? Okay. I'm particularly interested in technology transfers that involve the Department of Defense.
Yes.
So can you speak to the kinds of relationships that you folks are developing with the Department of Defense?
Yes. So most of our funding with the Department of Defense is on research. We don't have as many small businesses innovation research grants with DoD. Most of those is out of the National Science Foundation, NIH, and USDA. Those are our major tech transfer activities. There are some dual use, but they're very small, especially in hyperspectral technology.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the last measure, which is HB 2503, relating to the University of Hawaii research. Please, University.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. I'm Vasilis Sirmos, the Vice President for Research at UH. We stand on our testimony in support of this bill.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions? That's all I had on my testifiers list. Okay, seeing none, we're going to recess for decision making.
So we're going to recess.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us again. We're going to gavel in for our 210 agenda. I'm going to give you all a second to situate yourselves as I am situating myself. Okay, we have one measure on this agenda. It's House Bill 2113. First up, we have the Department of Budget and Finance offering comments. They are not present. We have the University of Hawaii in support via Zoom.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I am Ray Matsumoto, Dean of the Daniel K. Inouye College of Pharmacy at the University of Hawaii Hilo. I stand in support of our written testimony and will be available for questions from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments via Zoom.
Good afternoon, chairs, members of the committee. This is Jade McMillan on behalf of Tom Yamachika for the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We've just submitted some comments on the measure. We'll send on our written comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have Board of Pharmacy with comments in person.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. So the board met yesterday. I'm James Skizuski, Executive Officer of the Board of Pharmacy. So the board met yesterday, looked at this piece of legislation. They decided to vote to support the intent of the legislation, but they did have a few questions related to oversight, the amount of fees that's going to be charged to licensees, and let's see, and just information on the benefit that will come to the licensees through this additional fees that are going to be charged to them. We are working with the stakeholders who are introducing the bill, so we are working these things out with them as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have the Hawaii Pharmacists Association in person.
Good afternoon, Chair Peruso, Vice Chair Capella, members of the committee. I am Corey Sanders. I'm president of the Hawaii Pharmacists Association. I'm going to take my 2 minutes today to really explain the intent of this initiative, kind of our vision for the special funds, and then what we're going to ultimately be asking of licensees. So I'll go through the fees and the intent. In the midst of a healthcare crisis in Hawaii, there have been a lot of state initiatives that are revolving around team-based care and about value-based care. And unfortunately, to this point, pharmacists just haven't been a part of those conversations. And the reality of the situation is that we don't have a full-time advocate for the profession. So the Hawaii Pharmacists Association is completely volunteer. I absolutely love working with James at the Board of Pharmacy, but he oversees multiple boards and he's not a pharmacist himself. So we really don't have an advocate during working hours that can sit on the state level as part of these conversations. Despite doctorate level degrees, the opportunity to complete residencies and board level national certifications, pharmacists in this state are dispensing as a majority of their roles. So they're in community pharmacies like Longs and CVS. That is nowhere near the top of a pharmacist license. And I want to create opportunities for pharmacy to be part of team-based care and collaborative-based care opportunities. The intent of the Pharmacy Special Fund is to create one position within the School of Pharmacy that will create a center for pharmacy. So similar to what nursing has with the Center for Nursing and similar to what medicine has with the Area Health Medical Center. They've both been critical not only to establish the role of medicine and nursing across the state, but they're part of conversations where they can pioneer innovative solutions that increase workforce development, improve healthcare outcomes, and allow their respective professions to practice at the top of their license. So the fun part, the fees. I would first like to set the tone that we have the lowest pharmacy licensure fees in the country. It costs us less than $100 to practice pharmacy in the state of Hawaii. And this goes for the entities that are also overseen by the DCCA. So you'll notice there's 4 line items: the miscellaneous permits, the wholesalers, and then the pharmacies themselves. The average cost for them in this state is less than $200. The average cost across the country is $800 to $1,000. So we are proposing, also those costs haven't been increased in decades. I can't find someone who can tell me the last time we've touched these fees. We are proposing an increase in pharmacist licensure fees of $50 a year to bring us from $95 a year to $145. And then the rest of the entities, the wholesale manufacturers, the miscellaneous permits, and the pharmacies themselves going up $100 a year. So from $171 to $271. This would allow, again, for one position at an average pharmacist salary, so one pharmacist, to serve as the executive director of a center for pharmacy. We've been working really closely with the DCCA, with James, and with DKICP, so Dr. Matsumoto that just testified, to mimic the flow of funds that are seen with AHEC and with the Center for Nursing. So they go from the DCCA to the respective school, and then that'll be paid out in quarterly increments to the Center for Pharmacy. I want to note that even with these increases, we're still one of the lowest states to practice pharmacy in. Because of their respective centers and they're written into statute, both nursing and medicine have a seat at the table in finding innovative solutions that involve their respective healthcare, their respective providers. The Center for Pharmacy is a profession-driven solution that matches the standard that's already been granted to other doctorate-level providers like nursing and medicine. I urge the committee to support this bill, recognizing that the establishment of a Center for Pharmacy is pivotal in ensuring that the most accessible healthcare providers in the state are having the impact that we're trained to provide. So I'm happy to answer any questions. We can dive into numbers and whatever else you want to know, but thank you for hearing this bill.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We have one other testifier, Molokai Drugs, in support via Zoom.
Good afternoon. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. This is Kimberly Svetten from Molokai Drugs. I'm the president of our community pharmacy, and I did submit some written testimony. I'm not sure if you were able to read my testimony, but we are heavy utilizers of the University of Hawaii Community College system for our trainings for our certified pharmacy technicians. And we are heavily in support of the establishment of a Center for Pharmacy, HB 2113. I stand by my testimony, and if you have any questions, you may ask them now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Members, that's all I have on the testifier list. Is there anyone else wishing to add testimony? Okay, seeing none, there's only one individual who was in opposition and over 20 other individuals who are in support. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to recess for decision making.
Reconvening for decision making. So we're going to start with House Bill 2359 related to the Hawaii Broadband and Digital Equity Office, which this bill establishes the digital equity program and basically provides enabling language that will help us utilize federal funds. On this, I just want to, or I recommend just defecting the effective date. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2359, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative LaChica. Aye. Representative Martin. Aye. Representative Martinez. Aye. Representative Matayoshi. Excused. Representative Mizuno.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan. Excused. Representative Todd. Excused. Representative Woodson. Aye. Representative Garcia.
Aye.
Chair, your measure is adopted.
Thank you. On House Bill 2498, which is relating to the University of Hawaii resident tuition fee, I recommend a House draft adding the at the end of page 3, line 18, and immediately, so the word immediately before proceeding on page 3, line 19. Other than that, just defecting the effective date. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members voting on HB 2498, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, noting the excused absences of Representatives Matayoshi, Quinlan, and Todd to stand for the rest of the this agenda. Are there any reservations or noes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 2500, relating to the University of Hawaii Conference Center Revolving Fund. We're going to make technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style, and we're going to defect the effective date. Members, are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2500, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. On House Bill 2501, relating to University of Hawaii reporting requirements, I recommend that we simply defect the effective date and move this out. Any concerns or questions? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2501, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or nays?
No vote.
No vote. Representative Garcia. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Moving on to House Bill 2502, relating to technology transfer at the University of Hawaii. This will repeal the sunset provision in Act 38. And what I would like us to do is simply defect the effective date and move this bill out. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2502, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 2503, relating to University of Hawaii research. This will repeal the Innovation and Commercialization Initiative Program sunset provision. I recommend that we simply defect the effective date and move this bill out. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2503, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Members, are there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Our final bill, House Bill 2113. I am really excited about this bill, and I think that we want to move it forward. I want to just defect the effective date. Are there any questions and concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2113, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or nays?
No vote.
No vote. Representative Garcia. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. We are adjourned.